Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 266 based on novel. So let's start. Puppet, it's not your god puppet sect. After solving the 3 puppets in front of him, Xiao Yan slowly turned around, his eyes fell on Ren Xiaodong again, and a smile arose from the corners of his mouth. Now, do you think I can beat you? As soon as the palm of the hand holding the flame giant ruler was slightly loosened, the giant ruler turned into a flame and dissipated. Puppet. You have puppets. With Ren Xiaodong's eyesight, he recognized at a glance that the North King in front of him was not the work of his heavenly puppet sect. Although the puppets refined by the heavenly puppet sect were not low in power, the damage they suffered could not be recovered. It can be said that they were simple consumables, one waste was one less. But just now he clearly saw the scars left by his net blade on the North King, but it disappeared in the blink of an eye. This recovery ability is by no means the puppet of his heavenly puppet sect. Now, I can fight you well, Beiwang. Go and take those guys back. Ignoring Ren Xiaodong's surprise, Xiao Yan slowly came forward and gave an order. The North King answered and went to the 4th old man of Donggu on the other side. Naturally, only Xiao Yan and Ren Xiaodong were left in this battlefield. Was that the avenue of nothingness before? Seeing Xiao Yan come forward, Ren Xiaodong's mood is a little nervous. Although there are different means, Xiao Yan has solved 3 puppets at the source level. No matter what method, the result has been put here. Now let him face Xiao Yan alone. It is false to say that he is not nervous. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yan smiled non-committally. At the same time, his steps changed, and his body shape disappeared in place. In the twinkling of an eye, he appeared in front of Ren Xiaodong, raised his fist and smashed it hard at Ren Xiaodong's head. Seeing Xiao Yan's sudden appearance, Ren Xiaodong's heart tightened and his body quickly retreated back. At the same time, the dagger in his hand drew again, and the 2 wind blades tightened, and then collided with Xiao Yan's fist. However, under Xiao Yan's fierce fist style, Ren Xiaodong's 2 wind blades could not support for a moment, so he was blasted by Shengsheng. Then he slammed Ren Xiaodong's arms in front of him, and his overbearing power immediately drove the latter back. Damn it, what a great brute force. At the moment when Ren Xiaodong stopped, he couldn't help humming. A trace of blood flowed down the corners of his mouth. At the same time, his eyes became more afraid when he looked at Xiao Yan. That terrible strength not only can break the puppet, but also he can't resist it. The speed shown by Xiao Yan just now is also terrible and amazing. Under the combination of the 2, Xiao Yan's close combat ability is far above him. In this way, he can't get any cheaper in close combat. Sure. However, then the sound of breaking the air sounded again. While Ren Xiaodong was frightened, Xiao Yan's body appeared in front of him. The fierce fist style came face to face again. It was more powerful than before. Even if it was more than a meter apart, the fierce fist style had already made him feel pressure. Damn it. Avenue of wind. Xiao Yan's speed seems to be above him. If you simply avoid it, you'll still have to suffer. At present, Ren Xiaodong doesn't dare to hesitate anymore. He immediately exerts the power of the road. With the support of the road of wind for speed, he narrowly avoided Xiao Yan's attack. At the same time, in the battle circle between Xiao Xian and breaking the army, when Xiao Xian felt the wind road controlled by Ren Xiaodong over there, he felt something in his heart. An invisible force between heaven and earth also condensed in Xiao Xian's eyes at the moment. That force is better than fighting Qi and source Qi. For him, it is a brand new force. At this moment, under the traction of Ren Xiao's Dongfeng Avenue, that force quickly fell into his control. This is the power of the road. Although the power is invisible, it seems more ethereal and heavier than the original Qi. It is like a bucket of water in front of us. If we can't lift the bucket, we can never lift the water in it. At this time, the bucket was in his hand. Buzz. In the next second, the wind and cloud in heaven and earth turned, and a huge wind roll rose out of thin air. Centered on Xiao Xian, in the void around him, it quickly condensed into an invisible avenue tent. In the twinkling of an eye, it condensed into more than 10 lanes. It didn't stop until the 27th tent. When Xiao Xian looked up, the army broke again, but compared with the previous, at this moment, the action of breaking the army seemed to be slowed down countless times in his eyes. In this short time, Xiao Xian could launch countless attacks. It's time. After realizing the power of the road, Xiao Xian slowly breathed out a sigh. The situation of the war continues to the present, and he has always deliberately left his hand. However, at the moment, seeing that Xiao Yang is not far from the end, it's time for him to solve the trouble in front of him. Qingmu sword formula will hit the sky. The two fingers are close together, and a little in the space in front of them. After a short time, the flowing wind between heaven and earth immediately converges. Under the package of the hurricane, an invisible long sword condenses with it, and the blade points directly at the incoming army. At the same time, an invisible tent full of edge behind Xiao Xian also condensed. At the moment when the long sword collided with the broken army, countless dense sword marks suddenly appeared on the seemingly intact steel body. These sword marks were deliberately hidden by Xiao Xian in the previous battle. All the sword marks have covered the whole body of the broken army. Until this day's strike, all the sword marks are connected with each other. Countless cracks also spread over the body of the army. Then, bang! Under Xiao Xian's offensive, this puppet comparable to the King of the Five Stars was completely crushed into debris. Guan Ao suffocated instantly. His body wrapped under the rock armor was like a sculpture, and his dark old eyes were full of panic. He never thought that he had read the battle wrong from the beginning. What 60% assurance is nonsense. In front of the other party's absolute strength, a puppet is like a puppet. Puff. At the same time, under the opening of Xiao Yantian's Jubu and Juxiangju, Ren Xiaodong, who ran crazy, was finally hit by his fist. The whole body immediately fell uncontrollably, and finally fell into the endless gobi below. Looking at the North King, the silver puppet is not weak. After fighting with the North King for a long time, it was to suppress the North King. If it were not for the power of lightning and the recovery ability of terror, I'm afraid it would be impossible to fight one of them. As for the fourth old man of Donggu, his figure has already appeared in the sky hundreds of feet away. Seeing the situation is bad, they can only escape. Unfortunately, under Xiao Xian's flying sword, they all gave their lives in a twinkling of an eye. This war, they are bound to leave no legacy, so these people must die. The fourth old man of Donggu was solved and Ren Xiaodong was badly hurt. The puppet was dragged by the North King. At the moment, Guan Ao is the only one who still has combat power. Are you going to keep your tortoise shell now? Xiao Xian smiled faintly and waved his fingers lightly. The invisible long sword immediately condensed in front of him. You remember, the enemy of this war, in the future, my heavenly puppet sect will double return it to you, Burning Valley. Guan Ao glanced at Xiao Yang reluctantly, and there was resentment between them. Then, Xiao Xian suddenly changed his face and quickly cut off the former with his sword, but he was blocked by the hard rock armor. While his face changed, Xiao Xian quickly looked at Xiao Yang, and then they quickly retreated. This guy chose to explode himself. Beiwang comes back. While Xiao Yang shouted loudly, Guan Ao's body exploded immediately, and the terrible energy storm swept across the sky at the same time. When the storm swept through the sky, Xiao Yang stood up out of thin air, looked down, and then saw Ren Xiaodong like a dead body. This guy also couldn't escape the energy storm just now. With a twinkling figure, Xiao Yang appeared in front of Ren Xiaodong, but found that the latter was no longer angry at this time. As for the puppet, it was destroyed because it was too close in the previous energy storm. So far, the 6 people of the puppet sect were all finished. After receiving Ren Xiaodong's acceptance ring, Xiao Yang and others set foot on the road again. Shortly after the two left, there was a virtual shadow in a jade pendant hanging on Ren Xiaodong's body. Now, Ren Xiaodong was born with a bitter face. At the same time, somewhere in the territory of One Scorpion Gate, the 3 figures are also chasing Xiao Yang at an extremely fast speed. For a long time, when night fell, the bleak gravel spread under the influence of the yin wind, sweeping between heaven and earth. It was difficult for both towers and mountains to escape the baptism of wind and sand. In the wasteland, it is difficult to distinguish between the stars and the moon when you look up and the streams and forests when you look down. Coupled with the annoying ghost weather, Xiao Yan and Xiao Xian simply stopped. Of course, more of these reasons are naturally due to the war during the day. They both consume a lot. A night's rest is also a convenience for the next journey. Looking for a mountain rock, they lit a bonfire in the leeward for a short rest. The flame burning in the night is like a bright star in the boundless night sky on this Gobi, illuminating a large area of surrounding land. The dim firelight even reflects on the yellow sand sweeping in the air, like a layer of grey mist. Beside the campfire, the flickering fire reflected on Xiao Yang. At this time, Xiao Yang was holding a ring in his hand, frowning on his face, and an uneasy mood rose in his heart. Ren Xiaodong is dead. It's reasonable to say that the soul mark on the Naji should dissipate with it. But just now, when Xiao Yangang wanted to inject the soul power into it, he was surprised to find that his soul power was still isolated, and the soul mark on the Naji was still strong. If it weren't for the strong soul force, Xiao Yang couldn't open the Naji. Although Naji opened it, he also explained to Xiao Yang that Ren Xiaodong was not dead. At least, his soul is still alive, but how is this possible? It is impossible to hide in front of him with the power of Ren Xiaodong's soul, unless it is. Damn it. It was something like that on him that covered up his soul. Xiao Yang didn't think about it until now, but he didn't have time to take those into account. Even if Ren Xiaodong has returned to Tianguizhong, or even Tianguizhong, it's impossible to catch up with them. As long as tomorrow, I believe they can reach the border of One Scorpion Gate in the future, and naturally they can enter the Fire Maple Forest. Then, even if the people of Tianguizhong really catch up, what can they do? Taking back his mind, Xiao Yang turned his eyes back to the ring in his hand. His heart moved, and the soul power was immediately injected into it. As the leader of the Heavenly Puppet Sect, I believe there must be a lot of treasures in Ren Xiaodong's Naji. If you can search for one or two, today's battle will not be in vain. After some searching, Xiao Yang could not help frowning. In Ren Xiaodong's receiving ring, except for some elixir spirit stones, there were very few skills. Even the spirit stones were just ordinary low-level spirit stones. It seemed that there was nothing worth watching more. However, just when Xiao Yang wanted to recover his soul power, a gold scroll in the ring attracted his attention, especially the 3 big words with blood marks on it. King Kong Puppet. This is the secret method of refining puppets by the Heavenly Puppet Sect. Xiao Yang immediately took out the scroll. When the scroll started, a cold metal texture and heavy pressure followed. Xiao Yang put a little force on his palm, which made him catch it steadily. King Kong Puppet, Spirit Level Advanced. With the scroll slowly opened, the information gradually fell into Xiao Yang's eyes, especially the refining methods, which surprised Xiao Yang. The cultivation of a puppet refined by the secret method of King Kong Puppet can be divided into 3 stages: return to Yuanjing, Yuan Wang, and Yuan Huang. The strength of a single puppet is the strongest, and it can reach the peak state of terror of Yuan Huang. At the same time, the color of the puppet will change with the improvement of its own strength. The puppets returning to Yuanjing are usually black, while Yuan Huang's territory is silver. In Yuan Huang's territory, the whole body of the puppet will turn into gold. At that time, both its combat power and defense power will reach an extremely terrible level. Like the puppet of Ren Xiaodong before, it is half-step Yuan Wang. Although the color of the whole body is almost turned into silver, it is still lacking. That's why the Northern King can fight against one. Otherwise, it will never be so easy in front of a puppet in the king's territory, even with the Northern King's terrible recovery ability. After understanding, the King Kong puppet is really like Xiao Yang's judgment. Once refining is completed, its combat power and defense are extremely strong. In the same realm, the combat power of the King Kong puppet is not inferior to that of a strong person with high-level fighting skills, and its defense power is even more terrible. It can be precisely because of these things that the advantages of the King Kong puppet have become his disadvantages at the same time. The excessively strong combat power and defense make the King Kong puppet unable to withstand any too strong external attack force, which indicates that once the King Kong puppet is damaged, it will never be repaired, but Xiao Yang's Qianyao puppet just makes up for it perfectly. If we can combine the refining methods of these 2 puppets, can't the strength of the North King go to another level? As soon as he thought about this, Xiao Yang immediately felt a desire. Now the Northern King's combat power can be compared with the strong ones in the later stage of returning to the source territory. Although the thunder power in his body has not been absorbed, it also takes a long time to refine. But if this King Kong puppet can be integrated with it and the two can be integrated, Xiao Yang believes that the Northern King's combat power can definitely enter the Source King in a short time. However, this process needs an opportunity. Unless Xiao Yang can really integrate the benefits of the 2 volumes of martial arts of King Kong puppet and Tianyao puppet, and the two are compatible, he can refine and improve the North King again. However, it is not so easy to understand the 2 different secret arts and combine them into one. However, just as Xiao Yang frowned, Xiao Xian suddenly stretched out his hand and took the King Kong puppet. "Little guy, are you interested in this King Kong puppet?" Glancing at it casually, Xiao Xian returned the scroll to Xiao Yang. The latter quickly nodded and connected the scroll together. Then he said, "I want to make this King Kong puppet compatible with my heavenly demon puppet. In this way, the strength of the North King can be improved again, which should be beneficial to the journey of the Fire Maple Forest." Well, it's a very good idea. This volume of King Kong puppet itself is characterized by hardness and hegemony. Your Tianyao puppet just lacks these. If the two blend, it's really a good thing. Xiao Xian smiled and held out his hand to Xiao Yang to ask him to accept the Sky Demon puppet in the ring. "Show me your fairy puppet. Maybe I can help. To be honest, I've done this kind of thing before." Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang could not help but look surprised. At the same time, he did not hesitate to give Xiao Xian the volume of Heavenly Demon puppet in his ring. The latter joked and smiled and said, "I still remember the 3 mysterious changes of Tianhua. The original volume of skill also had some special disadvantages. I didn't think it was reasonable, and then I improved it myself." As soon as he said this, Xiao Yang immediately picked up his eyebrows and felt admiration for his ancestor. Although he said this, it seemed that the difficulty was not difficult to understand. It is particularly difficult to create fighting skills, not to mention to improve an already complete fighting skill. From a certain point of view, it is more difficult than creating a new volume of fighting skills. With Xiao Xian's help, Xiao Yang's confidence is naturally much greater. During the rest time, carefully compare the common points between the 2 volumes of Kung Fu, simplify and overlap some of the contents between them through these details, and then refine the contents later. Of course, the whole process is not as smooth as Xiao Yang imagined, because even the so-called common points in the 2 volumes of martial arts are difficult to find. Although they are all means of refining puppets, all aspects have become major problems, especially the many details of Tianyao puppets. This King Kong puppet did not have. It seems that the person who created this volume of King Kong puppet only cared about the power of the puppet, but did not care about the rest of the details. From this point, Tianyao puppet is much more refined than it. For 2 hours, Xiao Yang concentrated on the 2 scrolls, but from beginning to end, he was difficult to understand the true meaning. After all, he had been with him for many years. It was not difficult to see some ways. The difficulty was that the King Kong puppet was just like its name. King Kong was not bad and there was no disrespect, there's no way to start. Alas! After all, Xiao Yang sighed helplessly. If he was still good at refining pills, then the puppet way was too simple. He tried to get the result only on a whim. It was really some wishful thinking. But right now, maybe you can. Xiao Xian smiled and a dark light flashed over. Then, when Xiao Yang looked up in surprise, the latter pointed at the center of his eyebrows. In a short time, a large stream of information also poured into Xiao Yang's mind. These are the results Xiao Xian obtained after these 2 hours. Feeling the wonderful artistic conception in the message, Xiao Yang's face was gradually replaced by the color of shock, and his heart was even more shocked. He never thought that his ancestor had such ability, but in 2 hours, he really connected the 2 seemingly different skills, and even had his own unique view. This ability, even with Xiao Yang's rebellious nature, also has to be sincerely admired. Ancestors. His eyes looked up. Before Xiao Yang could say anything admiration, he was stopped by Xiao Xian. "What do you want to say later? Now I'd better finish what you want to do first." It took a lot of energy just now. I'll have a rest first. Then, before Xiao Yan could speak, Xiao Xian looked tired and leaned on the earth behind him, closed his eyes and rested. After some hesitation, Xiao Yang bent his fingers and flicked, and the body shape of the North King appeared in front of him. After turning over the thoughts in his head again, Xiao Yang thought carefully, and then bent his fingers. The light blue flame immediately burned on Beiwang. The next day, when the strange fire on the North King dispersed, a new steel body also appeared in front of Xiao Yang. Today, the whole body of Beiwang doesn't look much different from yesterday, but it makes people feel a sense of killing. This breath is undoubtedly more threatening than ever. Even the skin of Beiwang looks more metallic. Of course, in addition to the changes in appearance, the most important thing is the combat power of Beiwang today. It has been able to compare with a strong person at the Source King level. As for the specific location, you have to touch it before you know. Xiao Yang got up and punched Beiwang with a little force. The latter's body was motionless, but his fist was slightly numb, which is naturally the effect of the power of thunder. Seeing this, Xiao Yang smiled with satisfaction. Now the power of thunder in Beiwang's body is becoming more and more powerful. However, with a slight touch, the power of thunder will jump out of the body and hurt him. This is a great advantage both in terms of defense and attack. Someone is coming. Then, just as Xiao Yang's smile just fell, Xiao Xian on one side didn't know when to open his eyes, frowned tightly, and a dignified color hung on his face. 3 Source Kings, they can come here in half an hour. We have to leave quickly. Aware that the breath of the 3 strong men was locked, the expression on Xiao Xian's face was more dignified, and the words spit out from his mouth made Xiao Yang's face change. Is it the man of the heavenly puppet sect? It shouldn't be. One of the smells is familiar. It's the man of one scorpion sect who met outside the burning valley before. The other 2 people can't be sure. Maybe they are the people of Tian puppet sect. If so, it's dangerous. He shook his head. Xiao Xian looked solemn. He didn't expect the other party to come so fast. Xiao Yang quickly took the standing North King into the ring. Then, after confirming the direction, they quickly flew towards the south. Sure enough, half an hour later, 3 figures came here. One of them was the man of the 10,000 scorpions who had met Xiao Yang and others outside the burning valley, Viper. On the boundless wasteland of Liao Dynasty, Xiao Yang and his companions were galloping south in the sky, but the danger behind them was getting closer and closer. Xiao Yang's self-cultivation is no better than that of the Source King. Even if there is a day's absolute step and wing elephant decision blessing, the speed is still limited. Therefore, the speed of the 2 people is much slower at the moment. The only thing to be thankful for is that under such a competition, the 2 of Xiao Yang are getting closer and closer to the fire maple forest. As long as they can catch up with the 3 people behind them and reach the fire maple forest, they may be able to avoid the danger. You should reach the poison cave ahead. There is the last checkpoint at the border of one scorpion gate. After that, you will be the fire maple forest. In the sky, Xiao Yang looked at a huge gully hidden in the wind and sand in the distance with a sigh. The tension in his heart gradually relaxed, but the next moment. Hiss! The breaking wind suddenly stopped, and the bodies of Xiao Xian and Xiao Yang suddenly stopped at high altitude. The world around them was shocked, and the invisible void was violently distorted and shaken by the hurricane. Xiao Xian looked up at the front and frowned. What's the matter? You can't go any further. Xiao Yang looked suspicious, but Xiao Xian stared at the end of the line of sight ahead. Just now, he suddenly found that there were 2 strong men at the Source King level right in front of them. When they entered this area, the smell perception had locked them, and it was obviously aimed at them. There are 2 Source Kings in front of us. As soon as this remark came out, Xiao Yang's face suddenly coagulated, and the source gas in his body also ran quickly at the moment. It seems that the other party had expected that they would pass here, so they would stop here. It's really a big deal to be the 5 Source Kings. There's going to be a big trouble. I'll try to hold them down later and you'll find a chance to leave. The breath has been locked and is destined to be unavoidable. If it is a strong war, they can't win by half, let alone escape. In the face of the siege of the 5 Source Kings, even one Source Emperor can't easily deal with it, let alone the two of them. This time, even Xiao Xian is no longer sure. If 1 to 3, together with Xiao Yang and the North King, they may still have the possibility to escape from heaven, but the 5 strong Yuan kings will surely lose this war. Now, he is the only one to hold the 5 strong Yuan kings and let Xiao Yang find a chance to escape. What are the words of the ancestors? You waited for thousands of years to resurrect again. You haven't fully appreciated the style of the mainland. How can Xiao Yang leave the ancestors to run for their lives alone? They have to go together. If they really want to leave us, even if they die, I will make them pay a painful price. Listening to Xiao Xian's words, Xiao Yang shook his head slowly. With a wave of his big sleeve, the new North King appeared, just like an invincible god of war. The atmosphere of killing runs through the world. The moment the North King appeared, the faces of the 5 strong Yuan kings also changed, and even they would shudder with the extremely dangerous smell. The appearance of the North King made their siege a little tricky. Gaga, what a special puppet. He is not only as powerful as the Source King, but also has evil spirit. If you can take it back to the sect and study it carefully, maybe the strength of our Tiangui sect can be improved again. Gaga, Gaga. Suddenly, an old voice came from the sky, echoing in people's ears, like the roar of hell ghosts, sharp and hoarse, especially the bursts of strange laughter, which made people feel sick. Turning around and looking, the 3 strong men of Yuan Wang in the rear have arrived. One of them, Xiao Yang, has seen it, is the Cobra, while the other 2, dressed in the clothes of Tiangui sect, seem to be the strong men of the 2 Tiangui sects. That was what one of the 2 said just now. A gang of guys who play with the dead all day. I don't know what you promised the sect leader. He would agree to join hands with you. Then, in front of Xiao Yang and Wang Qiong, the other 2 appeared, a man and a woman. One of them was covered with long hair and had a blue face, or even a pair of eyes with the same blue color. The other woman had a charming face and a full and hot body, which was exposed to the air unscrupulously and made people want to spit fire. In the narrow eyes are a pair of triangular pupils. Staring at people's eyes is like looking at prey. The cold feeling suppresses the evil fire in the heart. This is really a snake and scorpion beauty. I'm curious. One day I can get a warcraft at the level of Yuan Wang. How about a refined puppet? The strange laughter in the old man's mouth came out again. At the same time, there was a smell of greed in the eyes of the opposite pair of men and women. Cluck, Elder Shu Rui seems a little angry. Do you want me to apologize for him? Smelling the speech, the woman smiled instead of being angry. She put on an attractive appearance and tried to play with her enchanting posture. A purple light quietly appeared in a pair of beautiful eyes. Suddenly, the old man named Shu Rui shook in front of him, and the look on her face relaxed slowly. At this time, the other old man suddenly gave a cold hum. The invisible energy immediately awed the charm, and the purple light in the woman's eyes dispersed instantly. At the same time, Shu Rui also woke up from this short control. Suddenly, the color of panic suddenly appeared in a pair of old eyes. Damn woman. Fortunately, this action is a joint action, otherwise let him alone with the woman, he's afraid he's already in a different place. Seductive elder, I hope you know the purpose of our trip. We can't affect the joint relationship between our 2 forces because of small things. One side, the other old man stepped out slowly, frowned and looked at the flirtatious opposite his eyes. Then, his eyes returned to Xiao Yang's body in front of him. Giggle, since Elder Shu Tsung said so. Little brother, you see, my sister has been thirsty for so long. Why don't you come to quench her thirst? In the middle of the conversation, the seductive eyes suddenly fell on Xiao Yang. The seductive tongue slowly crossed his lips. The enchanting posture at random made people want to expand. The slender waist really made people want to reach out and grab it hard. But when the seductive purple light reappeared, Xiao Yang suddenly looked up and a dark fire suddenly appeared, sweep away the approaching danger in an instant. Holding his right hand out of thin air, the dark ruler appeared in his hand inch by inch. With a slight tremor, the fire suddenly came into being. Sorry, I have a strong temper. I'm afraid I can't help you. In the extreme south, in the territory of one Scorpion Gate, over the Poison Cave. Xiao Yang held a mysterious ruler in his hand, and his whole body was filled with fire. The hot smell of fire filled the space between heaven and earth. The fierce high temperature constantly twisted the space, and from time to time there was a burst of sound of space explosion. On one side, the North King stood tall and upright, the thunder flickered on his tall and straight body, and the killing chi of Ling Tian diffused from his body, which made people turn pale. Xiao Xian's 2 fingers were close together and waved gently. The hurricane suddenly turned into an invisible storm and swept across the sky. Over his head, an invisible long sword also condensed and appeared with the formation of the hurricane. The unparalleled sword intention changed the faces of the 5 people present. Then, the 5 released their own powerful momentum and pressure, and condensed with each other in the sky. The invisible momentum resisted Xiao Yang's burning fire, the Northern King's killing breath, and Xiao Xian's arrogant sword intention of Lingtian, and even suppressed it. Xu Tsong and Xu Rui bent their fingers and flicked. After a while, 2 silver puppets appeared. These 2 puppets are the equivalent of 2 strong men at the Source King level. In this way, the number of strong Source Kings on the other party's trip will reach as many as 7. Seeing this scene, the bottom of Xiao Yang's heart suddenly sank, and the look on their face became more dignified. In the end, there was the result they didn't want to see. 7 Yuan Wang strong men, such a lineup, even if Xiao Yang did their best, they could not escape from it. No wonder Liu Yong will die in your hands. King Bak Xingyuan also has some skills. However, since you have killed the elder of our Tiangui sect, you have to pay a price. Liu Yong's puppets will take you to make up for it. At the moment when the gloomy voice came out, Xu Tsong and Xu Rui suddenly waved their big hands, and the Liang Zun puppet in front of them immediately burst out, like 2 shells out of the chamber. In the blink of an eye, they had come to Xiao Yang's face, waved their fists, and smashed them down. Dang! The next second, the ear-pounding sound suddenly sounded. In front of Xiao Xian, an invisible hurricane formed a barrier to block the puppet's blow. As for the other statue, it was punched up by the North King next to Xiao Yang. At the moment of the collision, Xu Rui's face behind him suddenly changed. He clearly saw that his puppet was under the North King's punch. The diamond iron fist was turned into a discus by Shengsheng, and cracks spread rapidly until the puppet's whole forearm was wrapped. What a terrible puppet! Seeing this scene, not only Xu Rui, but also the eyes of several other people present couldn't help showing a look of shock. As people of the 10,000 Scorpion sect, they naturally know how strong the puppets of the Heavenly Puppet sect are. They don't say anything else. As far as they are concerned, they dare not easily touch the puppets of the upper Xu Rui. However, it's shocking that the puppets that the Heavenly Puppet sect thinks it depends on are punched like this by the North King of Xiao Yang. Of course, in addition to being shocked, people on both sides were also greedy for the North King. If such a powerful puppet can be used, it will be a great blessing to either side. Once the cultivation reaches the realm of the Source King, the existence of every strong Source King in the power is extremely important. If you can add a strong Source King to your clan power, it can be regarded as a great achievement. In particular, once such a puppet with anti-sky combat power is included in the sect, it is definitely an extremely powerful force. It cannot be said that even the strength of the whole sect will increase, let alone in this far south. Xu Rui, kill them. Yes. Xu Tsong and Xu Rui looked at each other, and their faces showed a ferocious color. Then their bodies flashed together. In the blink of an eye, they appeared in front of Xiao Yang and grabbed Xiao Yang and Xiao Xian. Xiao Xuanshang was able to deal with the attack of these 2 people, but he didn't dare to underestimate Xiao Yang's accomplishments now that he returned to the source. When Xu Rui's body appeared in front of him, the Xian heavy ruler burning fire in his hand was fiercely waved, and he showed the 7 heavy ruler breaking the sky without hesitation. One after another, Xu Rui hurled his head at Xu Rui. However, in front of the strong man of Yuan Wang, this amazing ruler was broken by him with his strong cultivation. Xiao Yang was proud of his 7 heavy broken ruler, which was stopped by Xu Rui with 7 palms. Then, his body shape came to Xiao Yang with a sneer on his face and sharp 5 fingers, he stabbed Xiao Yang's chest. If this blow falls, Xiao Yang is afraid to be hit hard in an instant. Void Avenue. Seeing the situation is not good, Xiao Yang's face changes dramatically. At the same time, the void avenue also condenses rapidly behind him. Then the next moment, when Shu Rui's 5 fingers are inserted, Xiao Yang's body disappears into it. Pooh! However, even so, Xiao Yang's chest was still left with several red blood marks by the 5 fingers, and the blood in his body rolled violently. A large mouthful of blood suddenly burst out of Xiao Yang's mouth and turned into a blood arrow, which hit Shu Rui directly, but it was shattered by an invisible force when he was close to the latter's face. And Xiao Yang's body shape also completely disappeared into the tent. Then, on the void dozens of feet away, Xiao Yang's body shape suddenly appeared. Before there was a chance to breathe, Shu Rui's body shape appeared in front of Xiao Yang again. He didn't dare to hesitate at once, and his backhand blew out again. 7 broken sky ruler. At the same time, Shu Rui grasped Xiao Yang's huge ruler with one hand, and slapped the other hand on Xiao Yang's chest. Suddenly, blood splashed, Xiao Yang's face became red because of congestion, his pupils tightened, and the whole person's breath stopped suddenly. In a moment, he flew backwards, quickly fell towards the ground below. Xiao Yang. Seeing this, Xiao Xian, who was fighting with Shu Tsong, suddenly changed his face. Ignoring Shu Tsong in front of him, he shook his opponent out with a backhand. Then he swept his body and hurried towards Xiao Yang. However, after Xiao Xian avoided Shu Tsong, Flirtatious and others suddenly came forward to stop Xiao Xian. Although it was a little hard, they still stopped Xiao Xian's body. As for Shu Rui, he smiled and rushed towards Xiao Yang again. This video will end here.